This video is being recorded during the SAG strike. I'm in support of all actors asking for fair pay. These TV shows would not be possible without their hard work. A way to donate to their cause is in the description below. It's really sad that I have to keep saying this over and over again. Thankfully, the WGA actually got a great deal, and I'm very happy about that as someone who is a writer. But the fact that SAG strike is still going on and the companies continue to refuse giving them a fair deal is laughable in the face of the companies and laughable in the face of our society and how we just can't give people living, wages. And it's really hard for actors, especially. I'm not talking about all your famous actors that get invited onto talk shows, of course. I'm talking about your actors who start out in theater and start out in play and do very, very small parts in commercials, and they can't even afford to, live anywhere. So I do hate that I keep having to say this, but it is very important. So I do, if you can, visit the website below in the description and just read up on it, see where they're striking and how you can help, and just keep yourself updated with it. Hello everyone, welcome back to Flying Solo with Kat, and today we are talking about Lego Star Wars Terrifying Tales. Now, if you aren't familiar with this little, I'd call it movie because it's 50 minutes. It basically is, they've done 3 of them. The first one was a Life Day special, so a holiday special for Lego. The second one is, of course, Terrifying Tales. And the third one is Summer Vacation. So you have a Christmas one, then you had a Halloween one, then you had a summer one. And these specials focus on our 3 main characters of the sequel trilogy. The Christmas one is for Rey. The Halloween one, which is the one we're focusing on today, is Poe. And the Summer Vacation one is Finn. So I thought in the season of Halloween that, of course, we have to talk about this movie slash show slash special. And it is so much fun. If you have not already watched it, I would actually go watch it first. It's really, really cute. And then come back and hear my thoughts on it. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. So all the shorts are based after The Rise of Skywalker, which I think is really cool because we don't really get much stories after that. And it's kind of nice seeing the sequel trilogy characters not, more kind of relaxed, besides in this one, because Poe is fearing for his life. It starts off with Palpatine. Now, Palpatine's characterization in the Lego is just so funny. He's like a cranky old grandpa that just hates everything, but is super funny, and I love the voice actor for him. We get introduced to Darth Vader, who is such a baby in these Lego shorts as well. He's just running after Palpatine like a little puppy, and it's the cutest thing ever. And I honestly, it's very funny to watch. That's one of the things that I like about Lego Star Wars, is that they make the villains very, very funny, and they use comedy to the highest, standard. And even in the video game, they do that as well, and I really, really like that. We get introduced to Vinay, which is kind of like a Sith cultist that helps out Palpatine. He's going to be more important in later in the episode. And then, of course, Mustafar. This episode, I keep saying episode, I guess a short. I'll say a short. This short takes place on Mustafar, which is really cool because, of course, in The Rise of Skywalker, we see a tiny bit of it, but not much. So it's nice to go back to Mustafar. This short, of course, focuses on Poe frickin' Dameron. And I love you, my boy. He is just so cute in this short. A tiny bit annoying, but in that Poe way, to where he's not too much. Every time I see Poe, I think of Oscar Isaac, and I can't hate Oscar Isaac and what he brings to the character. So I loved him in this short. he's at the, when we're introduced to Poe, he's actually killing off First Order TIE fighters. And he says a line saying, "Don't you know that the First Order is gone? We defeated them at the Battle of Exegol," because, of course, this is post The Rise of Skywalker. So I wonder if that's going to leave it open if there are First Order remnants. Now, of course, the Lego shorts aren't necessarily canon, but they're really funny, and I like to think they're canon, and I think the people that make them kind of think they're canon as well. And, who cares, right? It's Star Wars. So for me, I found that actually very interesting, and I wondered if, of course, in the new Rey movie, if that's actually going to be put onto it. Now, of course, we have the Imperial remnants make up the First Order, so it'd just be a vicious cycle, like 3 times, and I feel like people would get annoyed with that. But I do find just that throwaway line, like, really, really interesting. So, of course, Poe gets stranded on Mustafar, and with BB-8, and oh my gosh, I love BB-8 and Rey. I think they're the cutest companions ever, but BB-8 with Poe is just the cutest thing ever. And of course, that's the OG pairing, right? And of course, BB-8's friends with Rey, but I think BB-8 has so much more of a connection with Poe after Tross from what we've seen in this short and the other shorts. Now, of course, BB-8 is in the Christmas special, so I just, BB-8's so cute, but I love his relationship with Poe. I think it's really special. Of course, he walks into Castle Vader, and they're trying to turn it into a theme resort hotel, which I think is the funniest thing, and it gave me major Galactic Star Cruiser vibes. I mean, imagine if they had Darth Vader's castle as a Disney hotel. I think that would be the coolest thing, and I would totally, totally stay there. Unless it was super expensive, then I would say probably not. We're introduced to Garbala the Hutt, who is a cousin of late Jabba, may he rest in peace. He gave me major vibes of Zero the Hutt. I don't know if any of you know him. He's, of course, in the Clone Wars, and then he got killed by the Jedi. Or Sith. Maybe he was killed by... No, I'm pretty sure the Jedi killed him. They were just so done with him. So, and helping Garbala the Hutt create this hotel is B1 battle droids, and they're in little yellow hats, and it's the cutest thing ever. My favorite droid, of course, is a B1 battle droid. I don't know if I've actually said that on this channel, but they are the cutest things ever, and I love them so much. We, of course, get introduced to Vinay again, and he is just super weird, but played for comedy. As I said before, the villains in these shorts are used for comedy purposes, and that's the best. In Lego, you can really, you don't have to take it as seriously, and I think that's what I really, really appreciate about Lego and what it does. Of course, his droid is named NIL8, so not that that would mean anything, but I just, thought that was interesting. Of course, then we get introduced to another character who is Dean, and he is basically Broom Boy 101. Super, loves Poe Dameron and wants to be a pilot just like him and help the Resistance. He's from Arcanis. Now, y'all, every episode I have to mention my boy. I found it interesting that they chose him coming from Arcanis. We haven't really heard of that planet since the General Hux comic and some of the Outer Rim planets that are in Arcanis space, which also would kind of connect with Camino. But then, even then, it's not really said out loud. So I immediately perked up when he said that he was from Arcanis. And the reason why he's here helping Garbala is because the First Order accused his mother of helping the Resistance, and she had a shop there, so no one wanted to basically go to her shop and give her money. And I found that interesting. So does the First Order occupy Arkansas? That's kind of what I'm getting the vibe here. And that, because why, if she helped the Resistance, why would people not want to go unless, they thought the First Order would be helping the Resistance as well? So I just found that very interesting. Why Arcanus? Why not Naboo or something? Although that's a mid rim planet. So why not just a random outer rim planet? It just felt very deliberately placed for him to be from Arcanus. But that's just me. So Dean and Poe get wrapped into Vinay's stories, and he's trying to unlock a vault that has to have a fearsome pilot. Now, of course, Vinay thinks it's Poe, but shocker, it's actually Dean. So Dean and Poe together both try to unlock this vault. And Vinay tells them three stories. The first story is The Lost Boy, and of course, it's about Ben Solo and the Knights of Ren. It's the best thing ever. The amount Lego does so much for Ben Solo and Kylo Ren as a character, but more Ben Solo. Even though they make him super whiny and super annoying, I kind of love it because it's Lego. Who cares? I'm not, looking for major characterization here, but it does a great job at showing Ben's and Luke's relationship and where it started to fray. It actually does a better job than it was in the movies. We get to see Ben and the Knights of Ren. I found the dream sequence really, really creepy of when Ben gets visions of different people. Ren is trying to pull him in different directions while his parents are there, and Ren is just basically haunting his dreams. And that is so integral to Ben Solo as a character, and that's why he partly fell, because he had so many people in his mind, and now we know it was Palpatine. But one of my favorite lines that Ben Solo says after he leaves Luke, when Luke says he needs to have patience to train, and then you'll get better, even though Ben is like already above everyone else. He said, "How long did he train on Dagobah? 20 minutes?" That's my favorite line, and I think Ben is just literally mocking everyone that says Rey had like no training at all. Because literally Luke trained for 20 minutes on Dagobah and then went to go save Han, Leia, and fought Vader. Now, of course, Luke did lose to Vader, but then again, he came back with his life. So I just found that line super, super funny and kind of a jab at everyone else. And yeah, it was very funny. I love Ben and the Knights of Ren, how they're just doing stupid stuff, and it's like he's in a boy band. It's really, really funny, and I loved that we got to see Ben Solo and the Knights of Ren. The second story that he tells is the about the Saber of Skardant, and it's called The Dueling Monstrosities. Basically, Darth Maul versus General Grievous, who would win? I never knew I needed this, and I love it. It's my favorite thing I've seen in a while. Now, of course, it's, you know, is it canon? No, but come on. We get to see the Night Sisters finding Maul a new body. So they go through all these different things of, does an Imperial probe droid work as legs? And then, of course, finally they, go to the spider legs that we see in the Clone Wars. Now, of course, when they're saying that, Maul survived being cut in half, Poe stops the story and is kind of mocking longtime fans. And he's like, does anyone really believe this? Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And which is just the funniest thing ever. And you're right, when you really think about it, like, really? Like, okay, like, how many times is Maul gonna survive? So, although I do love the Night Sisters, and I do think that they do not need the slander. So, I found that very funny. And Maul basically goes out to find the Saber of Skardant, and Grievous goes out to find the Saber of Skardant for Palpatine. So they're both working for Palpatine, but they don't, one of them wants to bring it back to him. Now, of course, Maul defeats Grievous, and I don't know, people always get mad at this because Grievous is a droid. I'm sorry, I love droids, don't get me wrong. But Grievous is basically a cyborg with no force powers, and he's a warlord. He's not, yeah, he wields lightsabers, but that's kind of it. And he's mainly a warlord for the Separatists. Darth Maul, I mean, he's trained in the dark side. He has the Force, and he's legitimately trained under Palpatine. I mean, same as General Grievous, but, of course, his body was fully replaced, while Maul's, of course, his mind went a little at the end. But in the end, Maul wins. And, like, people, what was the thing on Twitter this week? People were saying this week who would defeat General Grievous, and someone said that Rey and Ben together would be able to defeat General Grievous. Now, of course, the fanboys got very, very mad at that because, oh, how dare you say General Grievous would be beaten by, sequel trilogy characters. But guys, like, literally in a Lego short, it shows Darth Maul, like, defeating him very, very easily. You're gonna go up against a dyad in the Force, two force wielding force users that defeated Palpatine. Like, bro, come on. So calm down. Anyway, went on a bit of a tangent, but then Maul goes to Palpatine and delivers him the saber, and of course the saber turns you like super, super evil. And then it breaks, and Maul's like, oh shoot, like now I'm not gonna kill you. And then Palpatine is like, okay, bye. And then he shoves him out a window. And I just think like that entire story was just so pointless, but I loved every second of it. And it was really nice to see Darth Maul and General Grievous kind of like together and fighting it out. I found that interesting. Our last story was the Wookiee's Paw. Now, this is basically, I don't know if any of you are Marvel fans on this channel, but it's basically a what if Star Wars. And I love that. So many people hate the what if series in Marvel, which is really odd to me because it has nothing to do with canon. I think it's one of the greatest things ever, and the animation is beautiful on it. So this is basically a what if Luke Skywalker turned to the dark side. And it's just super fun, and I think they should do more of it. And also, the whole reason that Luke goes to the dark side is because Watto gives him the Wookiee's Paw, same as Watto not, accepting Republic credits. Like, Watto literally changes the course of the galaxy forever, and I love that for him, and I think he's doing a great job. And I think he just needs to stay away from the Skywalkers though, because he's changing too much. But I found that very, very, very funny. And just the whole act of Luke, wanting to be a pilot, and the whole point is like he just wants more and more and more, but it's really done in a funny way and not like, okay, Luke, like, calm down. At the end, Luke he wishes to be known the most famous pilot in the galaxy. And of course, it's the Death Star run. And Leia is actually in the X-Wing with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and which I think is amazing, and definitely another kind of look into a what if. And Luke is way too cocky, and he actually is the one to defeat the Death Star, but on the Empire side. So Luke would always defeat the Death Star no matter what side he was on. And Han comes back in at the end. It's so well done. And of course, at the end, when Vinay like continues telling it, Dean is like, did that actually happen? And Poe is like, no, it did not. And that was really kind of where this was at, because the Knights of Ren story goes against canon comics, and of course the Wookiee's Paw, the dueling monstrosities as well. Like, those both could have happened, but was it really going to happen? Probably the dueling monstrosities was probably the one that was the most canon out of all of them because of Darth Maul's spider legs. But it's just super fun. You don't honestly have to look at canon, and that's what I really appreciate about these stories. Finally, they get to the vault, and Dean finds a Sith holocron, which reminds me very much of Ezra finding the Sith holocron with Maul, and they kind of unlock it to find the location of Obi-Wan. And oh my gosh, Vinay's actually evil and wants to take the power for himself. Whoa, I'm so surprised. And basically, it's like Cyborg Vinay, and then you have evil B1 battle droids, which I think is the best thing ever. They're like zombie battle droids. Just beautiful, beautiful storytelling right there. And of course, then we have a couple references. We have a Mummy reference, we have a Shining reference with Garbala the Hutt, and it's just honestly some of the funniest scenes in the entire short, and I really, really like it. They get out and find out that Dean is force sensitive, actually, and that's how he was able to wield the Saber of Skardant and find the holocron, and they defeat Vinay, but of course, Dean is not going to go back to work for Garball the Hutt. Like, he's like, I'm done. Poe offers him a job in the Resistance and says that Rey is a Force user as well and might be able to help him, which I think is great. But also, what about your job, Dean? You're helping your mother on Arkansas. I understand that the First Order is gone and you shouldn't have an issue, but y'all, like, they're gonna have First Order remnants. Like, I don't think your mom is okay, and people are still thinking that the First Order is kind of there. They're still scared. So I think him just like quitting his job to leave with Poe and go train in the Force, I was like, but what? Where was your motivation through all of that? So anyway, other than that, it was good. Overall, I do think it is the weakest one out of the three. I will be talking about the other two when that time comes. But I do think it is the weakest out of the three. I had to watch it twice because I kept forgetting what was happening, which wasn't great. But at the end of the day, I think for what it did and the story that it told was pretty good. And it was funny. It's a good time to watch this. I would really recommend sitting down, watching it maybe on Halloween night, or even watching all three, because that's what I did. They're about 50 minutes each, so really it's like an hour and a half of fun Star Wars Lego time, and I would really, really recommend it. So anyway, guys, this was a bit of a shorter video, but I hope you all have a very, very happy Halloween. Be safe out there, and also let me know what else you want me to talk about. This video kind of came to my mind late because I was like, oh, I have to do something Halloween themed. It was either going to be a talk about the Night Sisters or talk about this. So Night Sisters will be soon. I will talk about the Night Sisters because I love them. But if you have any suggestions, please leave a comment down below and I will see what I will talk about next. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you